Hey, welcome back to Who's Up, where we get into personal finances, personal health and wellness. We get into a little sports and we dabble a little bit in current events. Today we have Dr. J, Danny Ocean, and Justin. Hey, Justin, what do you have for us today in the personal finance world?
All right, all right, everybody. Today I want to talk to you all about dividends. And a dividend is pretty much it's a sum of money paid by a company to its shareholders. Typically, it can be it's paid quarterly, but you have some stocks that pay monthly or or semi-annually. It just kind of really all depends on their corporate structure, right? And so dividends are really really awesome. So it's pretty much it's like, hey, thank you for being a part of Apple. We like y'all a lot. We really appreciate you giving us your money to be able to grow our company. We're gonna give you a certain percentage based upon the number of shares that you have in the company, right? So I've gotten, I believe Microsoft does it. I have this oil and gas stock that does it. I have this other company. This oil and gas stock is called, gosh, I can't even. It's called OKE. It's called Anoke, Anoek, and they they've given me like $15, $15, $15 quarterly. So they're really starting to add up, and I think I have maybe about 17 or 18 shares. So what a super awesome benefit about getting stocks that pay dividends is not only does your percentage in the stock increase. So let's say you got 30 shares, right? And they say, okay, thank you, Danny Ocean and Dr. J for investing in me. We're gonna give you $15. So and you can choose to either reinvest your dividend or get it out in a form of a cash payment. So if you reinvest it, now instead of having 30 shares, depending on the share price, you may have 31 or you may have 30.5 or whatever like that. And so the benefit is not only does the stock appreciate in price, and so you get the appreciation for buying the stock low and the price goes higher. So let's say you bought it at 30 and now it's $40 and you had 10 shares. Now you've made $100, right? But then on top of them giving you a quarterly dividend, now you've made $115. So it's like a double perk. It's um like thank you. We really appreciate you. Some of the bigger companies don't do that. They may say, hey, we're really trying to increase our company's infrastructure, so we're gonna keep reinvesting the money back into the company. So you may not um, you may not get a dividend, but the stock price may go up even higher than the previous example that I gave you of $10. And so typically people who invest have certain strategies. Like TJ will speak on it a bit later. He has created his portfolio to be strictly dividend-based stocks. And so typically in dividend-based stock companies, they're a little bit riskier. They're saying, hey, since there's a little bit more risk attached to it, we're going to give you an added benefit. Um, so that's pretty much like kind of my short overview of dividends. TJ, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say since I learned about dividends, I kind of fell in love with dividend-based stocks just because it's almost like buying income. If you get enough shares in something, you literally they pay you every quarter. At least most of my dividends pay every quarterly. Like I say, like Justin said, some pay semi-annually, some pay monthly, some pay yearly. Um, but I think it's great. So basically, you just buy stocks, so you get the equity as the stock price goes up, and as well you get cash to the side. So they cut you a check every couple months.
I have
Um,
some questions. If I'm sorry, keep
Oh,
going. My
oh
bad.
yeah, so I'll just say based off my portfolio, I've trended towards dividends just because I feel that if I'm going to put money into something, at least pay me while my money's here. And also like those dividends is more than I feel is more than like you can buy with interest as well. So not only are you dealing with equity, that interest that they're paying you is more than the bank interest that you would have gotten. So that's why I like dividends so much. And it's like if you buy to me, like I buy products like stocks and products that I use like Nike. So if I buy enough shares of Nike, they're basically paying for the shoes that I buy because they pay me in dividends. That's how I feel about it.
And I wanted to add one more thing to it. Another thing is a dividend yield, and the riskier the stock is, I don't want to say the less well known is, but the more riskier it is to invest in it, the higher the dividend yield. So they're pretty much saying, hey, we're kind of risky, so since you put your money in us, we're gonna pay you a little bit more. Like Apple, I believe Apple pays it, but I don't believe their dividend yield is very high because they're a very well known and successful company. So there's not a lot of risk associated with their stock. So any questions?
I got a
I
question.
have a few. I was actually
Go
writing
ahead,
them down.
Daniel. You go first.
So Justin, you mentioned that you can take that money and then reinvest it. Do you get do they offer a discount? Like do stock, or do you have to pay the full market price? Like if you want to, instead of me taking the cash payment, if I want to take that money and reinvest into the company, they say, okay, well, we'll knock $2 off the price per share. Do I have to pay market value?
Yeah, you still pay market value no matter what. It's not necessarily like, for example, it depends on how much of a dividend they give you. They may give you enough to buy a whole nother share, or they may only give you enough to buy a fractional piece. So if they give you $15 and the share is $30, you only got enough to buy half a share. So that's all it'll buy for you. When that dividend is reinvested in, whatever time period it's reinvested in, that's the stock price that you get. So they don't really give you a benefit like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you a 20% discount for reinvesting your money. It's just more so if you choose to reinvest it, thank you. If you don't, you get cash. So there's not really a share price discount.
Gotcha. The second question was taxes, right? I know on tax forms you see, did you collect dividends this year? Like what's the tax rate, or is it like a flat tax rate for every dollar you spend, the government takes, a couple pennies on the dollar, or does it increase by the how much money you get from different stocks?
I can answer that. It's more so capital gains tax, but you only get it once you take it out. So
Okay.
if they deposit your dividends into your investment portfolio, then you only have to pay taxes once you put that into your own personal bank account.
Okay, like a 401k.
Yeah, as long as it stays in your investment portfolio, you're fine. So you're
Okay.
not tax liable until you actually take it out.
And is it a percentage, a flat percentage, or is it by like, $100, it's 2%, $300, 4%, or is it just a flat?
Capital gains tax, I think, is flat. I think it's what, 10 or 15% now?
20.
I know they changed it since
Yeah.
You said 20?
I think it's 20%.
yeah, I know, like I said, no, that was one of the changes that came around with the new administration.
And then the last question is, do you guys have any like companies that you can give to people like off the top of your head that pay dividend stocks?
Yeah,
I know you said
know
Nike.
Yeah, one of my personal favorites, and I got them back when they was $31. I actually got it from my financial advisor. It's called OKE, and it's probably about $53 or $54 now, but it's probably projected to be around like maybe in the hundreds, maybe $120 per share over the couple of years, because I've had it for maybe about a year and a half, and it's almost doubled in price.
Okay.
And they pay you, and I believe their dividend yield is like 4.16 or something like that. So it's technically kind of a risky company, but I look at these things like companies aren't that risky if you hold it for a certain period of time. Like you mitigate your risk by, if you hold anything for 10 years, I can almost guarantee you that you'll be in the positive unless the company completely like tanks. But I would, if I were to give one of my favorites, it's ticker symbol OKE.
Yeah, I got a few that, like I said, I've based my portfolio up with. So like Altria, that's a good company. Their ticker symbol is MO. I have OKE down here. Just by being local to 804 to Richmond, Philip Morris was another good one. They pay great dividends. Their ticker symbol is PM, and it's an energy company. I forget what the actual name is, but the ticker symbol is TC. They pay decent dividends as well. And it's an energy company. I think it's based out of Canada. And also SPY, which is the S&P 500. So that's basically the basic ETF stock, but it also pays dividends. So they average about a 15% return on their stock, and they pay dividends. So it's a great place to put your money in if you're just looking to let it sit and they have a replicable return rate.
I had a question too. How do the companies determine how many shares they want to like divide up, or how much they want to put to each dividend and that type of stuff?
I would say it all depends on each company structure. Like, again, they're only going to put so much out to buy because they still want to maintain a 51% ownership. So they still have all of the voting rights. So you only want to give out a certain portion because when you own a stock, you technically own voting rights as well. And so the more shares you give out, the more opportunities that people have to vote, the more opportunities there are for somebody to try to come and, almost take over the company a little bit. But it's also the more money that you can bring in, right? So if it's going to be a lot harder to get $1 million if you only got 100 shares rather than 100,000.
So I could take that 100,000 shares and use that to divide that over the 49 remaining percents of the company. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, to be able to be sold. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like sold for public consumption.
Okay, so say I'm WWE for a second. 51% of the money stays with the McMahon family. The other 49% is now on the stock market as far as ownership goes. And then each percentage, I put that to how much I want it to be a stock, or is it like a 1% equal one stock, or how does that? Is that how it works?
It just depends on, on the number of shares. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a percentage. Like if you want to make it easy, you say, all right, if I got 100,000 shares and somebody buys 10,000 of them, now they own 10% of the company, right? So it's just however many shares, like each company has a specific number, right? So a smaller company may not need to put out 100,000 shares because they're like, people ain't that interested. Apple, on the other hand, may say, hey, we need to put out 1 million shares because our company is so popular, it's so big and fast growing that we want a lot of people to invest their money into us so we can continue to upgrade phones and upgrade the cloud and all this other stuff. So there isn't a necessarily like every company that goes on the IPO needs to make this many shares public. And so TJ, if you got anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was just doing some research on the phone since he brought up WWE. So right now WWE has 482,000 shares out there floating around the public. So like I said, that's going to make up less than 41%. They average 541 shares on average of volume, but their total capacity, like fully owned shares, is 3.9 billion shares. That's what makes up WWE. So the shares are really underutilized based off of WWE. But they also pay a dividend as well. So I mean, it's a good company to look into.
Nah, we don't buy WWE stock until they treat Bianca Belair with respect.
Yeah, and that's what I was ready to get to next, right? So some of these companies y'all mentioned, they might pay out good dividends, but suppose I don't support their business practices, like a gas company. They pollute. I don't want to support them. So you mentioned some of the policies and politicians. Obama said at one point, we're not going to get the climate change until the best business move is for climate change. So do you think it's more effective to say go protest and picket, or for a new company to come out that had clean energy?
Not necessarily, because if you ever want to affect change, you're going to have to affect them in their pockets. You know what I'm saying? So if they're still making money in the outside world, that's going to drive their stock prices. So that's going to make them look favorable to investors. So just because a new company and they're jacking up, we pay a bunch of dividends, yes, investors going to look at them, but investors also going to look at, is this company even making money to withstand paying these type of dividends? If they don't think it's a reputable company and they're going to last for a decent amount of time, you're not going to see a lot of long-term investment there, because people are not going to put their money at a certain price and not gaining equity, and those dividends could change over time. So they're not going to invest in losing their money if they don't have faith in that company.
And also, another thing to kind of add, maybe like a little bit of a sidestep, is us small investors, we're not doing anything to the stock price. It's the hedge fund people, right? So it's like our 50, 60, 100, couple $1,000s. We're not moving the stock price up and down, right? It's the hedge fund guys who have billions of dollars tied into the market. And when they start pulling out their money, that's when the stock price starts to drop, right? And so you may hear all this positive news. Oh, WWE, they about to add a new branch to it, blah, blah, blah. And you say, oh, I'm going to put all my money into it, right? Bro, you ain't going to make the stock move up a penny. And so you kind of have to, by the time you hear about the news, it's already too late, right? So, so it's just like, it's one of those things where you kind of have to be careful, like invest, like TJ said earlier, he invests his money in the things that he uses, Nike, you know what I mean? So he's like, okay, if I continue to invest enough dividends, there'll be enough to, pay for my shoes. So one of the guys I follow on Instagram, his name is Wall Street Trapper. He says pretty much for every liability, you need to have an asset to pay for it, right? So for example, I have a Lexus. I should be investing my money in Lexus stock. So eventually I have enough to pay for my car note. I got a Verizon phone bill. I need to be investing enough money in Verizon stock that eventually their dividends pay for my phone bill, right? So it's just like, a trick to kind of investing is invest in what you know, invest in what you use.
I follow you. So it's time to get a solar panel so I can stop investing in Dominion Power every year.
Yeah, solar panels are great if you have the option.
I am a spokesperson. TJ know how to talk to this man about solar panels all the time. If you ain't got one and you own a home, you need to get one. I'll just break down to you some of the numbers I get. I pay $124 a month for my solar panel. They pay me $360+ for having it.
That's what we like to hear. That's the type of money we're talking about.
So I get almost 3 times as much money to have a solar panels because, again, everybody's trying to go towards green. So like they want green energy and blah, blah, blah. So in DC, they gave me a 26% tax write-off on my solar panels on my last year's taxes. They also have companies that buy they're called SREC credits, which is pretty much every single month my solar panels produce a certain amount of kilowatts, right? So it produces enough to get one credit. So they sell that credit to somebody who wants to work with green energy, and then they pay me for that credit. So I've gotten so much as $390. I've had my solar panels since end of December. It's now August. I've made almost $1,900 for having solar panels.
So you had to pay a monthly fee to keep it connected to the grid for case of emergency, that kind of stuff?
No, it's a monthly fee to own the solar panels.
Yeah, you have to buy the solar panels. Solar panels are not cheap. So
like $200 on Amazon.
No, those ain't the same type of solar panels. Like the actual get kilowatt producing solar panels, them things cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah, mine cost 28.
Yeah,
28,000.
Yeah.
But you still turn a profit off. It's worth it.
Yeah, I make a profit every month, and they're gonna have to pay me money for the next 7 years to own solar panels. So if I just turn around and everything that they paid me, I paid my payment, and then at the end of the year, I gave them all the money they paid me. Bro, I would actually probably never pay for solar panels out of my own pocket.
That's what we want.
And at the same time, he's saving on his energy bill as well.
That's what we want.
My power bill has been. I had a power bill for 3 months that was $10.
That's what we want to hear. You see what I'm saying? And we keep the sky clear. That's the type of dividends I like to look for, not just straight up cash money. I like that. Yeah. That's good math right there. Is it does that company that makes the solar panels, do they have stocks and dividends and such too? I mean, I think that's another layer of it right there.
Yeah, no, they may. But again, there are so many solar panel companies out there that I would probably just look into solar energy, like find the top people in the market for solar energy and invest there, because the company that I got it from, Green Brilliance, is probably not big enough to really do any real damage. So I would go after solar energy companies. So like, let's say Bob the Builder was the biggest solar energy company. I would go after Bob the Builder rather than a branch off the solar panel tree. You know what I'm saying?
I got you. So if we wanted to say death to WWE, all power to AEW. We invest in AEW and we protest WWE. We don't just protest and we don't just blindly support. We gotta do both, right?
Yeah. Again, I think with certain companies, again, like TJ gave you the what it's like 3.2 million shares of WWE, and they only got 480,000 available for like sale. That ain't gonna do nothing. Like, you really ain't, like, that's a sneeze at them. They got way more not, that won't be sold rather than the ones that are available for sale. So I don't know if necessarily protesting like that, like, yeah,
you're not gonna be able to protest in the stock market, like, just have a big sell-off. Yeah. All it is going to make even if everybody sold off, it's gonna make the stock price fall and make a large, as they call it, a sale. So it's gonna, for everybody who's want to invest in it, is going to drop the stock price by $20-$30, and everybody's going to jump in it again. And once it rises, it's back up because the business practice hasn't changed. So
just like how with AMC
making business and making good business decisions and still on TV, they're still going to turn a profit, which everybody's going to look at. So you're just going to make a better business investment for somebody else by trying to get people to sell off the stock price.
Oh, that's going to help them out there.
Yeah, exactly. So you're really going to have to find a way to get them off TV if you want to hurt them.
Yeah.
Danny Ocean, we got some work to do, man. We got to get rid of them.
Vince ain't calling me the N-word. All the black people just leave WWE, go to AEW when they treat you right.
Yeah, put me on some good stuff though, man. I got some thinking to do now.
Yeah, dividends is where it's at, man. Like I said, I've been investing for dividends for a while. Like that, since I learned about them, I just said, might as well get something for my time and effort and sitting here in these, if it's time, my money up. But yeah, are there any more questions for Justin before we get up out here today?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, sounds good. So click subscribe, check in on us on Instagram at Who's Up _podcast. Like I said, if you have any questions, want any other feedback, just give us an email at 1-800-WHO'S UP@gmail.com. And we out.